My name's Lawrence Power, and I do a lot of different things, but I guess what I do most is I play the viola. That's what I started doing in life when I was 7, and I'm still here doing it now. For me, the viola is just the most intriguing voice as string instruments go. If you think of violins or cellos or even double basses to some extent, they're defined by the size of them, whereas every viola is a different size, so they all sound different. So I sound very different from another viola player, and they sound different from the next one. It's an instrument that can kind of be a chameleon. It can pretend to be anything. Dvorak, Schubert, Mozart, they all played the viola because, of course, that's where you hold the keys to everything. It's the center of everything. And the opportunity to hear that on a large canvas in an orchestra setting, in a concerto, is constantly fascinating. Playing with the Philharmonia is always special. It's a privilege to return to this orchestra every time, and to come back now with this new piece that's been written for me by Magnus Lindberg, and to work with Esa-Pekka Salonen, who I've also worked with a lot as a composer actually, is a dream. And I'm really looking forward to giving the UK premiere of Magnus's new viola concerto. I'm on this sort of journey at the moment of commissioning a lot of new music, and Magnus Lindberg's a composer that I've always adored his music, and I always wanted him to write a concerto, and I sort of plucked up the courage to approach him and the publisher, and it turned out that it was also a piece that he wanted to write. He'd never written a viola concerto, so it was kind of in his imagination somewhere. That whole process has been a really beautiful one. So I guess over the last 4 years, we've been talking about the piece, and gradually it came into life, and in November we'll be in London performing it. This is an incredible piece of music, and this is a surprising piece. In many ways, it's like being in the middle of a kaleidoscope. Constantly these changing colors, also constantly sort of listening to these extraordinary scales that have a very particular connotation for us. Of course, the pentatonic scale immediately leads us into sort of Eastern realms. I think he's a fascinating composer. People listening to it for the first time, I think will kind of be constantly sort of dazzled and surprised by what he's doing, sort of not just in the orchestration, but also with the solo viola and its relationship with the orchestra as well. I feel very lucky that I travel a lot for my work, and Scandinavia and the Nordic countries, I'm blessed to sort of go there a lot. When I think to the first time I went to a Nordic country, I think it was to Sweden. The first thing that hit me was just this sense of space. When you travel outside of the cities, you go through these huge areas where there are so few people. I find in Magnus's music, there's a use of harmony that somehow it's quite spaced out. You sometimes do get this sense of sort of space in the music. When I think of Finland, it's such a beautiful landscape. It must influence the sort of DNA of a composer in some way. For me to work with Esa-Pekka on this piece, Magnus and he are very close friends and very connected musically. It's a perfect combination for me. I'm really thrilled that these things came into alignment, and we were able to sort of give the premiere in London together. And I can't wait to sort of discover the piece anew with him.